know, the swap of the Taliban Five and their release, which I've told you already was not 5, it was 10. The ante they put up just to open the negotiation was 5 previous to this. And when they were negotiating for purely money alone, a ransom, as it were, the president and his team put a stop to that and said, no, we're going to release men. And he ran them around his own inner circle. Like a bunch of inebriated drunks. They began to believe they were justified in their own treason. You know, get a bunch of young fellas sitting around, and they drink a little too much, maybe smoke a little too much. And the next thing you know, somebody raises some stupid idea, and as the conversation runs around the room, they've lost enough of their thinking process they're just inebriated enough to say, yeah, let's go do that. Now, no one picks up the phone and says, well, hold on a second, let me call my sister and see if she thinks this is a good idea. Because his sister, who's home straight, would say, what are you, nuts? That's stupid. You guys are going to get yourselves in trouble. But not this crew. The difference is, this isn't a couple of teenage boys out for a lark who cause a little mayhem, maybe a little damage, spray paint a few signs. This is the President of the United States. This is the staff at the White House. This is the Pentagon, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This is Eric Holder, the Department of Justice. This is Charles Hagel, the Department of Defense. This is Jeh Johnson in Department of Homeland Security. This is John Kerry in the State Department and the entire executive staff at the White House. And theirs was an act of treason. This was a criminal conspiracy. And they don't even have the luxury of saying, we drank and smoked a little too much. We just kind of lost it there for a minute. Because these guys were plotting and conspiring and colluding for months. The difference is intent. The difference between manslaughter and murder, murder one, is clear. Bob and I got into a scrap. I punched Bob and I landed one on his chin. And as he fell back, he smacked his head on a curb and he died. It was an accident. I never meant to kill him. That's manslaughter. Versus, I know I'm meeting Bob tonight and I hate that dude's guts. And I know exactly where he's going to be and when he's going to be there and who he's going to be with. And I am bringing a weapon tonight and I intend to remove him from the world. And when he sees Bob, he walks up to him and he pulls out that gun and he looks him right in the eye and he says, "Bob, I've always hated you." Pow! That's premeditated murder. And the difference is huge. The release of the Taliban Five was a willful, intentional, premeditated act of treason. And the players, Barack, Joint Chiefs, Eric Holder, the entire Department of Justice, every member thereof, guilty by association, nonetheless guilty. Chuck Hagel, the Department of Defense, and every member therein. Jeh Johnson, the DHS, and every one of his allies. John Kerry, State Department. That shameful mouthpiece that comes out on television. What's her name? Jen Psaki. Sits there and tells the media what everyone in the room knows is a bald-faced lie. I mean, it's incredible to me. How could you be a journalist today, working in the White House, the State Department, or any one of these agencies, and hear these meaningless mouthpieces come out and daily lie to your face, knowing that they're lying? They know that you know they're lying, and not just want to leap out of your chair, run up there, and strangle one of them. This, ladies and gentlemen, was a criminal conspiracy. It's not the first one. Guarantee you it will not be the last. But it was premeditated. It was plotted, schemed, connived. They colluded. They conspired to aid and abet a known terrorist organization, an enemy combatant, and they provided material support with intention, willful intent. How do we know? Well, today they're coming out and saying, yes, we expect that 4 out of 5 will go back to do battle. But they won't come back to do battle with us probably because we won't be there. But they're there now, and we're there now. And the actions that they are taking in Qatar, how do you know that they're not planning, scheming, conniving right now? I heard some buffoon idiot say, they've been out of commission for 12 years. They're out of practice. Out of practice? What kind of an absolute retarded damn fool would you be to make a statement like that? You think Al Capone couldn't have gotten out of jail and gone right back to being, what, the gangster thug? You would sit there and say that about the Taliban Five, but you wouldn't give that same level of credibility or credence to your own countrymen. Those criminals get out of jail, they're recidivists, they go right back in for committing crime. But the Taliban Five, they're going to go home and they're going to be good fellas now. You mean to tell me you will sit there and give mass murderers more credibility than you'll give your own countrymen? They're not my countrymen. I don't hang around that kind of ilk. What? Why? 'Cause what? He sold a couple of bags of crack? Well, he didn't butcher men, women, and children. Doesn't excuse what he did, but the difference is stark. And I don't buy the argument about Bergdahl. He's an excuse. You intentionally, willfully loosed an enemy of the United States on the United States and every soldier currently in Afghanistan. And you did it with willful intent. Every last one of you should be tried for treason. Every agency involved in that decision should be disbanded. You Keystone pathetic pukes can't even get your arguments together and your excuses together. You got the president blaming Chuck Hagel, which is the only reason Chuck Hagel, the Republican, is in that job, so he could lay the blame on him when the time came. And you got Chuck Hagel turning around and saying, wasn't me, it was the boss. He told me what to do. Just goes to prove the adage, there is no loyalty among thieves. And you, the lot of you, are a den of thieves and make Alibaba and the 40 look like Boy Scouts. Treason is inexcusable. Treason's worse than that. It's unforgivable. These men are assassins, murderers of children, murderers of women, not war, not enemy combatants, civilians, genocide, guilty by your own admission. You've told us they're guilty. You don't even deny their guilt. So what justification have you now? What justification can you possibly pull out of the magic bag of tricks to make us believe that this was justified, that this was right, that this was good, that this is to the betterment of the United States of America, that not a single young American life is going to be lost, that not a single another soldier is going to come home missing a foot or an arm or an eye? This is the hypocrisy of the entire thing. Some person, makes a bank deposit that's over $10,000 or a withdrawal, and the next thing you know, you're looking up their skirt to see, are they donating to terror? Meanwhile, you got the DEA out there laundering hundreds of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions for the cartels. The same cartels that you're cutting deals with. Then you let 5 Talibanese monsters go back to wreak havoc amongst our men who are still there. Meanwhile, you've got, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of veterans who can't even see a doctor. And these 5 Taliban had, a doctor for every 1.5 of them. They went home fattened, in good health, bereft of any disease. their teeth cleaned, their beards combed. They're living in the lap of luxury in Qatar. They're at a resort, sunning themselves. They're speaking out to their leadership. They're being debriefed. They're plotting. They're conniving. They're figuring how many more and how can we get more of these soldiers? How many more can we get? Because each one, no matter what a piece of SE is worth at least 5 of us. I mean, and if you guys weren't such big titles, might have been worth 10. And this piece of S, who is really trying desperately to empty out Guantanamo so he can have a legacy, he'll come up with any fantastical excuse to let another 10 or 15 or 20 of us go. How can we kill a few more? How can we use this to our betterment? How can we make sure that we use this to recruit more young, foolishly tricked young men into thinking that this is all about religious fervor and not about political ideology? How can we get more pawns for us to push into the meat grinder using your freedom and their traitor and deserters' history? Chuck Hagel had the gall to act frustrated and annoyed that he was being questioned about his honor and his integrity. What honor and integrity? First of all, you were a member of Congress long before you became the head of the Department of Defense, which tells me that you long ago took off the armor of honor and integrity long, long, long before you ever accepted the job from the devil himself. Oh, the faux outrage. I hope you're not insinuating. I would have said, no, I'm not insinuating anything. I'm calling you a traitor. I'm calling you a traitor right here, right now, to your oath, to your nation, to the people of this country, to every soldier who is currently out there, to every soldier who's laying in a bed missing a foot, to everyone he's going to still go into surgery for the 8th time. For the soldier who can see and will never know what his children look like. That's what I'm calling you, Chuck. I'm calling you out. I'm calling you a traitor to your nation. That's what I'd say to him, and I'd say it on camera. Without fear, without trepidation, without recrimination. And when he jumps up out of his seat to storm out in shame, I'd say, you sit down. We haven't released you yet. We're too soft. We're all gentlemen. We're statesmen. Statesmen, hell. You're traitors. The fact that you've allowed Barack Obama to get away with this, the fact that you've allowed Chuck Hagel to walk out of there a free man, not in cuffs, on a perp walk towards a permanent orange jumpsuit, that tells me everything I need to know. That's not fair. He needs to have a full investigation. Yeah, right. Just like you've been investigating Fast and Furious, like you've been investigating the IRS, like you've been investigating Barack Obama and his fake Social Security number and the fact that he doesn't have a real birth certificate. Like you've been investigating what? Every other scandal that's going on. Like you're going to investigate the VA while thousands more go without care and maybe dozens or hundreds even die. That kind of investigation? You mean the ones that take a long time while you guys go out and lunch on lobster, bisque? And go home to your fine Georgetown home and sit on your $3,000 couch? Count the money in your re-election campaign? Donated by corporations, not by a single one of your constituents? That kind of investigation? That's what I thought. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. Please make sure that you support our sponsors, because these are the folks that keep us on the air every day. I'd like you to visit our friends over at American Resume Service. You can find them at AmericanResumeService.com. You can call them at 417-264-2486. 417-264-2486. You can email them at info@AmericanResumeService.com. Their program for America's Voice Now listeners is their $200 resume package is 50% off or $100. Then they will donate that whole $100 to America's Voice Now to keep this program on the air. I think that's a worthwhile expenditure, and I think it's a great and honorable thing. If you need a resume, you won't go wrong. Make sure that you visit our friends over at Battery Station at batterystation.com. They're true American patriots, and you will not be disappointed by doing business with them. 417-257-7799, batterystation.com. It's 417-257-7799. Our friends over at Pizza Hut, local folks here on the location on Porter Wagoner Boulevard, have been very supportive of this program. Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have a reduced price lunch. It's $5. Salad bar, pizza, pasta bar. Tuesday night, kids under 12 eat free. It's family night. All you got to do is go in there anytime, any day, and let your server know that you heard about their restaurant on America's Voice Now. Make sure that you see our friends over at Atlas Survival Shelters. If you think you'd like to have a shelter that you can bury in your backyard for you and your family, for any emergency, any kind of situation, man-made or natural, AtlasSurvivalShelters.com. Make sure you see and visit our friends over at survivalbypreparedness.com. That's survivalbypreparedness.com. SpringCreekBeef.com. SpringCreekBeef.com. All natural, 100% grass-fed beef shipped straight to your door. Best you'll ever find. And it's no more or hardly more expensive than what you would pay in your local store. Make sure that you visit their website. Give them a call. Make sure you visit the Go Green Festival, which will be occurring on the later on this month. Go Green Festival is going to be held down on the 21st and 22nd. That is Saturday and Sunday in Thayer. Admission is free. If you'd like to have a vendor table there, that is free as well. If you're interested in more information about it, you can call 417-264-2435 to get more information about that. That's 417-264-2435. You can ask for Mike, and Mike will be happy to provide you with all of the details, including what the issues are surrounding how many vendor slots he's got left. There's no charge for you to be a vendor there. You have a business and you'd like to participate, That's great. If you'd like to make a donation to them at the end of that, if you've done quite a significant amount of business, then by all means, please feel free to do so. This is a great program. Lots of good speakers. Have a great day, folks. God bless you. We'll see you on Monday.